Hi. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Deborah-Anne D-Giorno. What that means is I am a fact. I've been authorized by the Postmaster General of our world. That means I'm a judge and postmaster. This is my courtroom. For those of you who didn't see this at the last school committee meeting, we had 2 minutes to speak, and of course, me going through who I am and what my so-called qualifications are didn't really give me much time. But what I really wanted to do was let the Holliston Public Schools know what they're doing, because I'm not sure. I think you're being advised very, very poorly by your maybe your lawyers or friends, I'm not sure, but whoever is advising you is doing a really poor job. And it's important for you to know what actually is happening at school. So this year, I chose to not send my son to Holliston Public Schools. And um, the school contacted me via um, email, uh, demanding to know, where my son is and what my plans were. Now, I did have questions. I said he wasn't going to be going to school there, and I did send a certified letter to Susan Kuska, the superintendent, letting her know that if she had demands that she was seeking from me as far as what the principal, David Keim, of the school was suggesting, that were the demands that they, in fact, had responsibility for my son. My questions were more like, you know, centered around, like, I wanted to know where this responsibility they felt was coming from. So the principal sent me a letter. Well, he sent it to my address. He didn't actually address it to me. He sent it to my address. Um, it was sent to Mrs. Deb DiGiorno. Now, Mrs. Deb DiGiorno is actually, that's using fictitious language. For those of you, and I'm sorry, some of this is going to be over a lot of your heads, but that's just the way it is right now. We have to speak in as lawful terms as we possibly can. So Mrs. Deb DiGiorno is not an actual human. That is a fictitious name. Um, as I said before, I am Deborah-Anne D-Giorno. And anything beyond that, anything that's different from that is not a fact. Who I am is a fact. And any other names like that, and sometimes, oh, and I got another letter today. Well, I didn't. This nom de guerre, Deborah DiGiorno, in all capital letters. Oh, you can't see because it's backwards, but you get the idea. Came from Holliston Police Department. Now, this is addressed to a nom de guerre, which means a dead person. The only time you see a capital names in all caps is on a tombstone or a birth certificate. That means, or sometimes bills you get in the mail. They're addressing them to a dead person. So this is, in fact, mail fraud. We'll talk about that a little bit later, what this means as far as this addressed really, really improperly, as far as what mail fraud would mean to the person who sent this. Okay, so the first thing, after what happened with um, the principal, David Keim of Fred Miller Elementary School, sent me, or excuse me, sent a letter addressed to, as I said, Deb DiGiorno, fiction name. So here's a signed confession from this principal. A signed confession means that he signed it. It's actually necromancy, but he did put his signature at the bottom. And necromancy, and this is another fictitious way to actually sign a document. Colon necromancy hyphen cursive hyphen marks colon black hyphen craft art of the lifeless. So this actually, just him signing it like this, makes this fictitious language. And it was sent via certified mail. And what that means is, where it was sent via certified mail using fictitious language, this falls under Title 18, Title 18, Section 1001, use of fictitious language, which actually activates, and I said this at the meeting, I know with that 2 minutes before, but this activates bank fraud and mail fraud. This is all fairly new to me as well. I'm really never in my life, my 49 years, been accused of being a criminal, and that's what this sent to me today was. So this signed confession by David Keim, Principal, Miller Elementary. In it, he writes, on September 9th, you responded to my email asking me to explain how I have the authority to ask where Joseph was enrolled and receiving an education. As stated, according to the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 76, Section 1 and 2, require every student starting at the age of 6 to be enrolled and attend school. So he says here that Mass General Laws, Chapter 76, be required to attend school, but it doesn't say here that he, David Keim, is actually responsible. So I'm not really here to argue with him or with this video about, this particular law. But it is interesting that he wrote that, but then it doesn't really say why he thinks he has the authority. So I'm here actually to say that he doesn't. My son, Joseph David D Giorno, is not in fact a ward of the state. The birth certificate system ended in 1999, and any person born after 1999, it does not actually have a legal or lawful birth certificate. So by him sending me this, in addition to the bank fraud, mail fraud, and also the fictitious language, in addition to all that, he's also where he's trying to assume responsibility for my son. He is also attempting kidnapping. It's that serious. So I know he doesn't know this, but that's actually what is happening. So then a few days after that, two gentlemen came to these premises and pounded on my front door, or my side door, actually, which is reserved for friends. Pounded on my side door. I don't know why. I mean, demanding to speak to me, I can only guess, because why would someone come to your door? I didn't answer the door because it was quite threatening. And what went through my head at the time was two persons in disguise on the highway. It's actually U.S. Title 18, Section 241 and 242. One of them's color of the law. The second one, criminal conspiracy. So when they came to the door and making demands and threats, I won't say who. One of them was the Principal David Keim. The other one was a police officer. I won't mention who he was at the time, because I do think he actually has some hope in all this of seeing the light, the error of his ways, so to speak, and maybe get with the knowledge as he should, being in his position. Now, his position, in fact, is not one of authority as far as it pertains to me, because he has not been authorized to think like I have. He does not have a claim to the life like this, or he hasn't shown me one, and he certainly isn't acting as though he has one. But I'll let him. I've already sent him a stop and correct 2 days ago, and what that stop and correct is, um, that's U.S. Title 42, Section 1986. And what that does is I'm making him aware that he has made an error. He has done something wrong, and he needs to stop. So this is a command that I had sent to him. And I am actually authorized to do that through my porting treaty. Back to this again. This is my flag, and I'm authorized to do that. Unless you have one of these, you are not authorized to stake a claim. That means you haven't been given authorization to think. So that officer, or that person who posed as an officer coming to the door, does not have authorization to think. So hopefully he will take to heart what I've sent to him, and maybe do a little soul searching, figure out if this is really how he wants to do, come to people's door and try and intimidate and threaten them and scare them into doing something that he doesn't know anything about. So you can imagine my mama bear side comes out when somebody tries to mess with my kid, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. Okay, so then this also came to my residence. What this is, a notice of clerk magistrate's hearing, Trial Court of Massachusetts, Juvenile Court Department. Case name, Holliston Public Schools versus Deborah DiGiorno. There is that fictitious name again, Deborah DiGiorno. So I have filed claims for this as well. This is evidence. And what the claim is, now, when you receive something in the mail like this, and again, it comes with bills sometimes too, they always try to trick you with this kind of thing. You see how this whole thing is in a nice big box, right? Well, this is Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition, page 591, Four Corners Rule. Under Four Corners Rule, intention of parties, especially that of grantor, is to be gathered from instrument as a whole and not from the isolated parts thereof. So that's what this is referring to. Four Corners Rule. It's talking about how it's basically boxing. It's called boxing. So anything in a box is an opinion. This is not fact, and it's actually omitted from the page. So anything that is omitted from the page is just an opinion. So this is really just a blank piece of paper that they sent me. Unfortunately, though, sending someone a blank piece of paper from the Middlesex County Juvenile Court with use of fictitious language is also one of those let's see, oh, excuse me, that's the fraudulent language. I said that. It is mail fraud and bank fraud. Now, for any of you who don't know, mail fraud and bank fraud is quite serious. And sending these to people from Holliston Public Schools, the penalty for that, for sending a fraudulent claim, this is a fraudulent claim. I would seriously get some better advice from whichever lawyer is giving you advice right now. Either he's stupid or he's not crooked enough to know, or he is crooked and he doesn't care if you get in trouble. But what's happening is Holliston Public Schools may be liable for 20